welcome to another edition of In a Matter of Minutes. Today, in a matter of minutes, we're joined by the Operations New Business team, and we're talking and answering the question of what is it that you want from me when it comes to a rationale letter. And today we're joined by Cindy Garska, the Client Services VP representing the fixed side of the world, Jim McConnell, the Operations Director representing USA Financial Formulas and USA Financial Exchange, as well as Melissa Carlin, Principal Account Manager representing USA Financial Securities. Thank you so much to the three of you for joining me on this segment. Really looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
As I mentioned, our topic today is the Rationale Builder, and we get all sorts of questions on the Rationale Builder as time has gone on, whether you're a USA Financial rep that just joined last week or you've been with us for our 30 years in business. The Rationale Builder, or the Rationale Letter rather, is something that has been a continued element, and it's always good to have a refresher. Why, what, and how are important questions when it comes to writing and answering a rationale letter. And just like that, we're going to be going over the why, how, and what that are important questions that we'll be covering and going through to answer the questions of how we can make your life easier in writing them. So we're going to be covering the why do I need one? We're going to be covering the what in the world do I include? And then we're going to be going over, what are the tools that are available to write a rationale letter outside of just getting out a notebook sheet of paper and then faxing it in to the new business team. So we'll start off with Jim. Why is it that we need a rationale letter, and what is the true value in having our advisors provide one?
Sure. Well, the rationale originally came out of the DOL requirements way back in the day. Ultimately, that was something that we needed to supplement our applications in order to make sure that we were fulfilling that requirement of the law. Initially, that was only for the retirement accounts. At USA, we felt it was much better, and we saw a lot more value in that to have that included for non-qualified accounts as well. As DOL kind of faded into the rearview mirror, we retained that in looking to have that included with the applications and other transactions, just to supplement what was going on, just to flesh out the kind of the transactional story that was being communicated through either application paperwork or other documentation. Obviously, as we move forward with Reg BI and that gaining steam and going to be coming into effect here really soon, that'll be a key component in making sure we're satisfying that, again, from a regulatory standpoint, but as well as providing explanations to clients, to family members of clients, to an auditor that might pull that file and take a look at it or want to see why this transaction is ultimately in the client's best interest.
It's really the story behind the numbers, right?
Exactly. It's kind of filling in the gaps that the X's and O's, the numbers and the check boxes that we see on the actual paperwork don't necessarily communicate. Why does this work for the client? Why is this helping them? Why is this something that they should be doing, and is that's better than what they currently have? Or if they don't have a product, this is the needs that are going to be met through that.
Right. So that's whether it's part of the original plan or something that's done 10 years down the road, where it might be some $10,000 account that needs to then fit into the whole, and having that.
Absolutely. And for Formulas and Exchange, our managed programs, we also look for a brief rationale explanation of why we're making some model changes. If we had initially started with XYZ model and now we're moving to ABC model, why are we doing that? Why is that helping the client? Obviously, with the market volatility we've had recently, these explanations, especially as people realize that maybe they have a little overexposure or want to take advantage of some down movement in the market and get in before that. All of that really is stuff that isn't necessarily told on that paperwork itself. It's adding that supplemental detail to let us know what's going on. And then, like we said, be able to communicate that to regulators, to auditors, to even clients sometimes if they call us direct.
And you referenced the value to the client, helping them understand what it is that this is all working to do for them, as well as the auditors when they come and they have no idea what happened. But it also helps in all of your review as well, right? So But if you just had to look at the paperwork without that explanation, you wouldn't know how it all fit together from the 2 or 3 or sometimes 10 or more hours of personal, intimate conversation that an advisor might have that led to that end recommendation. So talk about the value that it provides to the advisors in paperwork processing and really the speed to getting those policies issued.
For that, I'll actually let Cindy and Melissa chime in because they see a lot more of that new business than we see. They're the ones on the front lines as those applications come in.
Absolutely. As John said earlier, the story behind the numbers, and probably you've heard us say that many a times, and we've all said it. Just looking at our paperwork and looking at the numbers sometimes isn't as easy as you would think. So by having the rationale, you're basically telling us the story, as it says, behind those numbers. And it's as simple as, we know if we were to call a rep and ask questions, they can give us so much information. If you can put that information in your rationale letter, typically we may not even have to contact you. If you give us all of the information about what's going on with that case and how it benefits the client, why it's important, maybe what has changed with the client, give us a little bit of background, and why it's in their best interest. And in particular, on my end with the fixed annuities, if there's a replacement involved, what has changed? What was the original purpose of the original annuity, and why does it no longer fit the client's objectives? What's changed, and how is this new one going to benefit better and work better for the client? We do see a lot of times, they're replacing an annuity that they've had for years and years. Well, obviously annuities have changed over time. The annuities that were written years ago were pretty much just your basic plain annuities, no bells, no whistles. Now we've got death benefit riders, we've got income riders. So there's so much more benefit to a client. You just need to tell us what that benefit is. And it just helps us so much with our review.
Certainly. And that's a great segue, Cindy, into the what in the world do I include? And we like to look at that from the 3 questions that get asked, why, what, and how. So talk a little bit about those 3 different components of the questions that get included.
Well, pretty much, the why. Why are we doing this? How does it benefit the client? And basically, what exactly are you doing? What is the outcome? Just expand on that a little bit. And typically, we've all been doing this for a long time. We know how the products work. But if you can explain to us how this product in particular might work better for the client than, say, another indexed annuity that has some of the same features, that's really what we're looking for, because a lot of the annuities have the same features. But what is it about this one in particular, that best fits the client? So that's just kind of the background information that we're looking for there.
Jim or Melissa, anything to add?
Sure. Best interest is now the catchphrase of the day. So you'll always want to keep in mind, how is this recommendation in the best interest of the client? And another thing that we like to know is, how does this fit in with the client's retirement plan? As Cindy mentioned, there are a lot of similar annuity products out there. So what makes this one stand out for this client? We're not looking for you to explain how the product works. How will it work for this client?
Definitely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great transition, Melissa, into how in the world, just like how that product might work for the client, how in the world can advisors go about writing a great rationale letter? We have a couple of tools that are available.
We do. We have our best tool is our document wizard. We have an easy document wizard under our marketing login off of the dashboard. And that's a really nice document that really leads you through creating a rationale letter. There are a lot of drop-down options that you can choose to answer questions. And there is also some space for you to write your own thoughts. Because Sure. If you feel that you haven't answered the questions the way that we've asked them, if you feel that you have more information to offer, definitely include that. More information is better. More information leads to fewer questions from us. Another way that you can create a rationale letter is to just freehand write it. We have quite a few reps who do that also. They're more comfortable writing out a one-page synopsis of what's going on with the client, following the what, why, and how questions that we put out there. And we can certainly release that information to you. Not release, I'm sorry. We can certainly share that information with you so that you have some guidelines to look at if you were to choose to write your own instead of using the Easy Document Wizard.
Right.
Yep.
Going back to what Melissa said too about the rationale builder, that's a great tool for going back, and you save it, you edit it, you can add to it. It can almost become like a living document.
Yes.
And it's a great tool to have in the client file to reference, perhaps give to the client so they can see the outline. And then there's also a place there for a client attestation. So
Yep.
the client signs off on everything that you're doing. And I'm sure you guys will all agree, in suitability, we love nothing more than to see a client sign a letter attesting to what's going on. So that goes a long way.
That and to that point, I'd like to add, Cindy, that one thing that sometimes gets missed with that attestation, looking at it as more of a requirement, is not, in my opinion, always the best way to view it. Sometimes that attestation comes in handy in the event that, say, mom and dad do a transaction and then they pass. Now the beneficiaries are saying, well, they didn't understand this, they didn't know what they were doing. It's kind of hard to say that that was the case, especially when you have a plain language rationale letter, something that's not in a lot of industry terms, that doesn't have, check here, sign this, initial that,
Right.
And that they've signed. It really is almost a way to say, yeah, that they did understand, the client did get what they were doing, and they agreed to that.
It's such a great marketing tool. I remember before I joined the industry, I would meet with a financial advisor. Everything made sense while I was in his office. And then the next day I'd get home and I'd look over it and I really wouldn't understand a word of it. So this is something you can send home with a client that's in plain English that they can understand and help remember what you talked about and why you arrived at these recommendations and implemented them.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Because we all know how much paper is involved when you're filling out applications. So
Yeah. And here's that nice, pretty. The Word document is effective, but the Easy Doc Wizard rationale letter is a pretty document that's great for client presentation. And like you said, Cindy, it also has that historical record that's in those previous versions that were done. So
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once you're finished writing your rationale letter, whether you use the document wizard or you write it freehand, you want to be sure to upload it through our dashboard. That way we get it faster. We can digitally apply it to your application, whether you submit your application through STP or not. It's already in our system. As you know, we scan all of our documentation, so this just makes that process faster. It's also easier to share the data.
Yep. And any other supporting documents you might have, illustrations, statements, anything like that to accompany that rationale letter. And then we'll have it at our fingertips. Reviews will go faster, business will get submitted faster.
Well, thank you so very much to the three of you. There are a couple different things that were referenced in this session. So we had the different components of the rationale letter, as well as a couple of those tools that can be used to create it. And you might not even have to type it out. Many computers now have microphones and dictation softwares built right into them. So after you've met with the client, can narrate that into a Word document or even in the rationale builder within the Easy Doc Wizard. And we'll have reference to those in the description field of this video. So look below, and whether you're connected with USA Financial and have been for a very long time, or have come across this video as a resource to create a rationale letter for your current practice, we'll have some tools there as well. Again, thank you so much, Cindy, Melissa, and Jim, for your time in helping us talk about what it is you want from a rationale letter.